The alarm clock buzzed at 5:30 a.m., just like every other morning. Lily rolled over and hit the snooze button, but she knew she couldn't afford to sleep in. Her grandmother was already awake in the next room, and the smell of coffee was drifting through the thin walls of their small apartment. At 19 years old, Lily had more responsibilities than most people twice her age. She pulled herself out of bed and shuffled to the kitchen, where her grandmother was sitting at the old wooden table, already dressed and reading yesterday's newspaper with a magnifying glass. The older woman's hands shook slightly as she turned the pages, a reminder of the arthritis that had been getting worse each year. "Good morning, Grandma," Lily said softly, kissing the top of the woman's gray head. "Did you take your medicine?" "Already?" Her grandmother nodded and pointed to the empty pill organizer on the counter. "All done, dear." "You worry too much about an old lady like me," but Lily did worry. Ever since her parents died in a car accident 3 years ago, her grandmother was all the family she had left. The insurance money had helped with the funeral costs, but it didn't last long. Now it was just the two of them, living off Lily's part-time job at the gas station and her grandmother's small Social Security check. Lily poured herself a cup of coffee and grabbed a banana from the counter. She had exactly 45 minutes to eat, shower, and get to her first class at Valley Community College. She was studying to become a nurse, which meant long hours of studying medical textbooks and memorizing anatomy charts. The coursework was hard, but Lily was determined to finish. She wanted a career that would let her take care of her grandmother properly. "I'll be home late tonight," she told her grandmother while gathering her books. "I have classes until 3. Then I work the evening shift at the station." Her grandmother frowned. "I don't like you working there alone at night. It's not safe for a young girl." Lily had heard this conversation many times before. The Riverside gas station wasn't in the best part of town, and her grandmother worried constantly about her safety. But the night shift paid more money, and they needed every extra dollar they could get. "I'll be fine, Grandma. I always lock the doors and only come out when customers need gas. Plus, there are security cameras everywhere." What Lily didn't tell her grandmother was that she wasn't as helpless as she looked. 3 nights a week after her classes and before her work shifts, she drove to the other side of town to train at Rodriguez Boxing Gym. It was a 40-minute drive each way, but it was worth every minute. The gym was nothing fancy. The building used to be a warehouse, and the owner had converted it into a training facility with heavy bags, speed bags, and a full-size boxing ring in the center. The walls were covered with photos of fighters who had trained there over the years, and the smell of sweat and leather was permanently embedded in the air. Lily had discovered boxing by accident. 2 months after her parents' funeral, she was angry all the time. Angry at the drunk driver who had hit their car. Angry at the insurance company that seemed more interested in saving money than helping her family. Angry at the world for taking away the 2 people she loved most. Her school counselor had suggested she try some kind of physical activity to help deal with her grief. Lily had walked into Rodriguez Boxing Gym expecting to hit a heavy bag a few times and feel better. She never expected to fall in love with the sport. Miguel Rodriguez, the gym owner, was a former professional boxer who had fought in the lightweight division for 10 years. He was in his 50s now, with gray at his temples and hands that showed the wear of countless training sessions. When Lily first walked into his gym, crying and angry, he didn't ask her any questions. He just wrapped her hands, showed her how to stand, and let her hit the heavy bag until her arms were too tired to throw another punch. "Boxing isn't about anger," he told her that first day. "It's about control, learning to channel your emotions into something productive." Lily came back the next week and the week after that. Miguel taught her the basics, how to jab, how to move her feet, how to keep her guard up. He showed her that boxing was like chess, requiring strategy and thinking ahead. Every movement had a purpose, every combination was planned. After 6 months of training, Miguel suggested she try amateur competition. Lily was nervous about fighting other people, but she agreed to try. To everyone's surprise, including her own, she was naturally talented. Her small size and quick reflexes made her hard to hit, and her accurate punching soon had local coaches taking notice. Within 2 years, she had won her first state championship in the flyweight division. Then she won it again the next year, and the year after that. College scouts started calling, offering full scholarships to universities with strong boxing programs. Some even mentioned the possibility of trying out for the Olympics, but Lily turned down every offer. She couldn't leave her grandmother alone, especially as the older woman's health continued to decline. The arthritis was getting worse, and she had started having small episodes of confusion that scared them both. Lily couldn't pursue her boxing dreams if it meant abandoning the person who had raised her. So she kept her two lives completely separate. At school and work, she was quiet, studious Lily who wore thick glasses and carried medical textbooks everywhere. Her classmates saw her as the serious student who always sat in the front row and never went to parties. Her coworkers at the gas station thought she was just a shy college kid trying to pay her bills. None of them knew that 3 times a week, she transformed into a completely different person. In the boxing gym, she was confident and powerful. Her glasses came off, her hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, and her small fists could deliver combinations that left seasoned fighters impressed. She had lightning-fast reflexes and footwork that seemed to make her disappear and reappear around the ring. Miguel often told her she had championship potential beyond the amateur level. "You could go professional," he would say after particularly impressive training sessions. "You have the skills and the heart for it." But Lily always shook her head. "This is just for me," she would reply. "I need to focus on becoming a nurse." The truth was, boxing had saved her life during the darkest period she had ever experienced. It gave her confidence, discipline, and a way to deal with stress that didn't involve breaking down crying in her car after particularly difficult days. The physical training kept her strong, and the mental aspects helped her stay focused on her goals. As she drove to work that evening, Lily thought about the essay she needed to write for her anatomy class and the bills that were due next week. She adjusted her glasses in the rearview mirror and tied her long black hair back in its usual messy bun. In a few hours, she would be the quiet gas station attendant again, helping customers and trying to stay awake during the slow overnight hours. She had no way of knowing that tonight would be different. Tonight, her two worlds were about to collide in a way that would change everything. The clock on the gas station wall showed 11:47 p.m. when Lily heard the first rumble of motorcycle engines in the distance. She looked up from her anatomy textbook, where she had been studying the muscular system for tomorrow's quiz. The sound was getting closer, and she could tell it wasn't just 1 or 2 bikes. This was a whole group working the night shift at Riverside gas station had taught Lily to recognize different types of customers by their sounds. Regular truckers had a steady diesel rumble. Late-night commuters drove quietly, just wanting to get home. But motorcycle groups, especially the ones that traveled together in packs, usually meant trouble. She marked her place in the textbook and stood up, stretching her back. The station was one of the older ones that still offered full service at night, which meant she had to go outside to pump gas for customers. During the day, people could pump their own gas, but after 10 p.m., insurance regulations required an attendant to handle all fuel transactions. It was supposed to be a safety measure, but Lily often felt like it put her in more danger, not less. The sound of engines grew louder, and through the large front windows she could see headlights approaching. 6 motorcycles pulled into the station, their riders wearing dark leather jackets and bandanas. Even from inside the building, Lily could hear them talking loudly and laughing in a way that made her nervous. The leader of the group was a tall man with a shaved head and arms covered in tattoos. He looked to be in his 30s, with broad shoulders and the kind of build that came from years of manual labor or gym work. When he pulled off his helmet, Lily could see he had several scars on his face, including one that ran from his left ear to the corner of his mouth. She took a deep breath and checked that her phone was in her pocket. The station's emergency button was behind the counter, connected directly to the local police station, but she hoped she wouldn't need it. Most customers, even the intimidating ones, just wanted gas and snacks. They paid and left without causing problems. The man with the scars was walking toward the door now. and Lily could see the name Venom Riders stitched across the back of his jacket. She had heard of this group before. They had a reputation for causing trouble at businesses along the highway, and she remembered her manager warning her about them months ago. The door chimed as he entered, followed by two of his companions. The others stayed outside with the motorcycles, but Lily could see them watching through the windows. The leader looked around the station slowly, taking in the security cameras, the layout of the store, and finally focusing his attention on Lily. Well, he said with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. Look what we have here. You working all by yourself tonight, sweetheart? Lily felt her stomach tighten, but she kept her voice steady and professional. Good evening. How can I help you? The man stepped closer to the counter, and Lily could smell alcohol on his breath. His companions spread out, looking at the snack aisles, but clearly listening to every word. One of them was recording with his phone, which made Lily even more uncomfortable. We need gas for all 6 bikes, the leader said. And I want you to come out there and pump it for us. That's what you do here, right? Full service? Of course, Lily replied. I'll need to see a credit card or cash payment first, then I can fill your tanks. The man's expression changed slightly. Payment first? That's not very trusting of you. What if we're good customers who always pay? Lily had dealt with this kind of conversation before. Some customers tried to intimidate attendants into providing service without upfront payment, then drove away without paying. The station had lost hundreds of dollars to these scams over the years. It's just company policy, she explained, for everyone's protection. The leader laughed, but it wasn't a friendly sound. Protection? You think you need protection from us? He leaned on the counter, bringing his face closer to hers. That's not very nice. We're just travelers trying to get some gas. One of his companions, a shorter man with a gray beard, chimed in from near the drink coolers. Maybe she thinks she's too good for customers like us, Danny. So the leader's name was Danny. Lily filed that information away while trying to decide how to handle the situation. These men were clearly trying to intimidate her, but she hadn't broken any rules by asking for payment first. She just needed to stay calm and professional. I don't think anything like that, Lily said. I ask everyone for payment first. It's not personal. Danny straightened up and walked around the counter toward her. Lily stepped back, maintaining distance, but he kept coming closer. You know what I think? I think you need to learn some customer service skills. Maybe be a little friendlier. The third man, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. Yeah, smile more. You look all serious and stuck up. Lily felt her heart rate increasing, but she forced herself to remain calm. These men were testing her, seeing how far they could push before she gave in or called for help. She had seen this behavior before in the boxing gym when new fighters tried to intimidate opponents before matches. I'll be happy to help you with gas once we handle the payment, she said firmly. How would you like to pay tonight? Danny's expression darkened. I don't like your attitude, girl. Maybe we should take our business somewhere else. He paused, looking around the empty station. But you know what? All the other places are closed, so you're going to have to work with us. The man with the gray beard had moved closer to the door, Lily noticed. They were positioning themselves to block her exit routes. This was no longer about gas or payment. They were planning something. Look, Lily said, trying a different approach. I understand you want gas, and I want to help you. But I have to follow the rules my manager gave me. If there's a problem, I can call him and see what we can work out. Call your manager? Danny laughed again. At midnight? I bet he's home. In bed, sleeping nice and comfortable. Just like you should be instead of working in a place like this all alone. The way he said all alone made Lily's skin crawl. She glanced at the security cameras, hoping they were recording clearly. If something happened, at least there would be evidence. Actually, the gray-bearded man said, this works out perfectly. We can have a nice long conversation without anyone interrupting us. Danny nodded and moved even closer. That's right. Just us and you having a friendly chat about customer service? He was now close enough that Lily could see the details of His tattoos and the cruel look in his eyes, Lily's mind was racing. She was trapped behind the counter with three men who clearly had bad intentions. The emergency button was within reach, but would police arrive in time to help? The phone in her pocket could call for help, but these men would see her doing it. Then she remembered her training. Miguel had always taught her that the most important skill in boxing wasn't throwing punches, it was reading the situation and staying calm under pressure. "Don't let fear cloud your judgment," he would say. "Stay alert, stay ready, but don't panic." "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Lily said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm just trying to do my job. If you want gas, I'm happy to pump it. If you don't want to pay first, that's fine too. We can work something out," but Danny was shaking his head. "Oh, we're way past talking about gas now, sweetheart. We're talking about respect. And you haven't shown us any respect since we walked." In here, the third man, who had been quiet, finally spoke up. "Maybe she needs to learn some manners." Lily realized the situation was spiraling beyond her control. These men hadn't come here just for gas. They were looking for trouble, and she was the target they had chosen. In a few moments, she would have to make a decision that could change everything. Danny stepped closer, and Lily could feel the counter pressing against her back. There was nowhere else to retreat. The other two men had positioned themselves near the door and the side exit, cutting off her escape routes. This wasn't happening by accident. They had planned this. "You know what your problem is?" Danny said, his voice getting louder. "You think you're better than people like us? Walking around here with your little books, acting all smart and superior." Lily glanced at her anatomy textbook on the counter. She had been studying the chapter on muscle groups just minutes before these men arrived. Now that same knowledge was helping her understand exactly how dangerous her situation had become. She could see the tension in Danny's shoulders, the way his hands were clenched into fists. His body language screamed aggression. "I don't think I'm better than anyone," Lily said quietly. "I'm just trying to work and go to school. That's all." The man with the gray beard laughed. "Work and school? What are you studying, princess? How to look down on working people?" "I'm studying to be a nurse," Lily replied, hoping that mentioning her goal to help people might make them see her differently. "A nurse?" The third man, who had been mostly quiet, finally spoke up again. "Well, isn't that nice? Little Miss Perfect wants to be a nurse." Danny's eyes lit up with a cruel idea. "You know what? Maybe you can practice on us? We've been riding all day and we're real tired. Maybe you could help us relax." The way he said it made Lily's stomach turn. She understood exactly what he was suggesting, and it had nothing to do with medical care. Her heart was pounding now, and she could feel sweat on her palms despite the air conditioning. "I think there's been a big misunderstanding here," Lily sighed, trying to keep her voice calm. "Why don't I just call my manager and see if we can work something out about the gas?" She reached slowly toward the phone on the counter, but Danny's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was strong, and she could feel his fingers digging into her skin. "I don't think we need to call anyone," he said. "This is between us. Just a friendly conversation between new friends." Lily tried to pull her wrist free, but Danny held on tighter. "Please let go of me," she said. "Let go." Danny grinned. "But we're just getting to know each other. Besides, you look lonely working here all by yourself. We thought you might want some company." The gray-bearded man moved closer to the counter. "Yeah, we're doing you a favor. This place is creepy at night. Anything could happen to a girl all alone." Lily felt a surge of anger mixed with her fear. These men were threatening her while pretending to be concerned for her safety. It was sick and twisted, and it made her think of all the self-defense classes Miguel taught at the gym for women who had been in situations exactly like this. "Look," she said, trying one more time to reason with them. "I can give you the gas. For free, okay? Just take it and go. I won't call the police or anything." Danny's grip on her wrist tightened. "Free gas? That's a start. But I think you can do better than that. We want the money from the register too, and maybe a little extra attention from you." The third man had moved around to the side of the counter now. Lily was completely surrounded with Danny holding her. wrist and the other two blocking any chance of escape. Her mind was racing, calculating distances and angles just like Miguel had taught her in the ring. "I can't open the register without a sale," Lily said. "It's electronic. It only opens when the computer processes a transaction." "Then make a transaction," the gray-bearded man said. "Ring up something expensive." Lily looked at the computer screen. She could ring up a fake sale and open the register, but she knew that wouldn't be the end of it. These men weren't going to take the money and leave. They wanted something else, and she could see it in their eyes. "The security cameras record everything," she said, desperate to make them think about the consequences. "If you take money, you'll be on video," Danny laughed. "You think we're worried about cameras? We've been in and out of jail more times than you've been to school. A little theft charge doesn't scare us." He twisted her wrist slightly, making her gasp with pain. "Besides, who says we're going to leave you here to talk to the police?" The threat was clear, and Lily felt ice-cold fear run through her body. These men weren't just planning to rob the station. They were planning to hurt her, maybe even kill her. She thought about her grandmother at home, probably asleep in her chair with a book in her lap. If something happened to Lily tonight, the old woman would be all alone with no one to take care of her. "Please," Lily said, hating how weak her voice sounded. "I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt me." "That's better," Danny said. "Now you're starting to understand. Open that register." Lily reached toward the computer with her free hand, but her mind was working on a different problem. In boxing, Miguel had taught her that there were 3 distances in a fight: long range, medium range, and close range. Right now, Danny was holding her at close range, which was actually the worst position for him to be in. If she decided to fight back, she could feel the familiar calm that came over her during boxing matches. Her grandmother always said that Lily was different when she was angry, focused, and determined in a way that surprised people. Right now, she was angrier than she had been since the night her parents died. "You know what?" Lily said, her voice suddenly steadier. "I changed my mind." Danny looked confused. "What?" "I said I changed my mind. I'm not opening the register. I'm not giving you anything. And I want you to let go of my arm right now." The gray-bearded man laughed. "Did you hear that? Little Princess is getting tough." Danny's face darkened. "I don't think you understand the situation you're in, girl." "We're not asking Nellesley anymore." "No," Lily said, looking directly into his eyes. "I don't think you understand the situation you're in." Something in her voice made Danny hesitate for just a moment. In that instant, Lily saw something she had learned to recognize in the boxing ring, the moment when an opponent realized they might have made a mistake, but it was too late for second thoughts. Danny's grip on her wrist tightened again, and he started to pull her toward him. "Maybe you need us to explain it better?" That was the moment Lily made her choice. For 3 years, she had been the quiet nursing student who never caused trouble. For 3 years, she had hidden her other life, the part of herself that was strong and dangerous. But these men had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. They thought they had cornered a helpless girl. They were about to discover they had trapped themselves in a room with someone who had been training for exactly this moment since she was 12 years old. Lily looked at Danny's hand gripping her wrist, then at his confident, cruel smile. In about 10 seconds, she thought that smile was going to disappear completely. When Danny yanked on Lily's wrist to pull her closer, something inside her snapped. All the fear, all the anger, all the years of training came together in one crystal-clear moment. She could hear Miguel's voice in her head. "When someone grabs you, they've given you a gift. They've told you exactly where they are, and they can't move as fast." Instead of pulling away from Danny's grip, Lily stepped toward him. The movement caught him completely off guard. In one smooth motion, she twisted her wrist in the direction of his thumb, the weakest part of any grip, and broke free. Before Danny could react, she had stepped back into a perfect boxing stance. The change in Lily was instant and dramatic. Her whole body language shifted. Her feet spread to shoulder width, her weight balanced on the balls of her feet, her hands came up in a tight guard position. The scared girl from moments before had vanished, replaced by someone who moved with the confidence of years of training. What the hell? Danny stared at her, confused by the sudden transformation. Lily's voice was calm now, almost conversational. I tried to handle this nicely, I really did. But you guys just wouldn't listen. The gray-bearded man laughed nervously. Look at her, acting all tough. You think you know how to fight, little girl? I'm a 3-time state boxing champion, Lily said matter-of-factly. I've been training for 8 years. I really don't want to hurt you, but I will if you don't leave right now. Danny's confusion was turning back into anger. You're bluffing. You're just a scared kid trying to act tough. He lunged forward, reaching for her again with both hands. It was exactly the kind of clumsy, aggressive move that Lily had seen hundreds of times in the gym when beginners tried to fight trained boxers. Danny was big and strong, but he had no technique, no footwork, and no idea what he was up against. Lily slipped to her left, and Danny's hands grabbed nothing but air. Before he could recover his balance, she delivered a quick 1-2 combination to his solar plexus. The punches were precise and powerful, landing exactly where she intended. Danny doubled over, gasping for breath and completely stunned. The gray-bearded man rushed toward her from the side, but Lily had already seen him coming. She pivoted on her left foot, turning to face him while keeping Danny in her peripheral vision. When the man threw a wild haymaker punch at her head, she ducked under it easily and countered with a left hook to his ribs. The sound of her punch connecting was sharp and clean. The man stumbled sideways, clutching his side and looking at Lily with shock and pain. He had expected to grab a helpless girl. Instead, he had walked into a punch that felt like getting hit with a baseball bat. This is impossible, he wheezed. You're just a kid. Danny was starting to straighten up, still struggling to breathe. Normally, his face was red with embarrassment and rage. Get her, he shouted to the third man who had been hanging back near the door, but the third man wasn't moving. He was staring at Lily with wide eyes, finally understanding that they had made a terrible mistake. Danny, maybe we should just leave. No way, Danny snarled. I'm not getting beaten up by some college girl. He came at Lily again, this time more cautiously. But caution without skill was still useless against someone with Lily's training. She let him get closer, then exploded into action. A jab to his nose followed immediately by a right cross to his jaw. Danny's head snapped back and blood started flowing from his nose. Lily bounced lightly on her feet, staying in constant motion just like Miguel had taught her. Boxing isn't about standing still and trading punches, he always said. It's about hitting without getting hit. The gray-bearded man tried to circle around behind her, but Lily's footwork kept her position so she could see all 3 men. When he tried to grab her from behind, she spun and delivered an uppercut that caught him square on the chin. His eyes rolled back and he dropped to his knees. Stop it, the third man shouted. Just stop, we give up. But Danny wasn't ready to quit. Blood was streaming from his nose and his jaw was already starting to swell, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. He pulled a wrench from his jacket pocket, not a weapon, exactly, but something that could definitely hurt someone if he connected. I'm going to teach you some respect, he growled, raising the wrench over his head. Lily's expression hardened. Up until now, she had been pulling her punches, trying to disable rather than seriously hurt these men. But a weapon changed everything. Miguel had always been clear about this. If someone brings a weapon into a fight, you stop holding back. You do whatever it takes to survive. As Danny swung the wrench down toward her head, Lily stepped inside his reach and drove her right fist into his solar plexus with everything she had. This wasn't a warning punch or a defensive tap. This was 8 years of training, 3 state championships, and every ounce of strength in her small frame, all focused into one perfect punch. Danny's eyes went wide with shock and pain. The wrench fell from his hands and clattered across the floor. He tried to take a step backward, but his legs wouldn't support him. He sank to his knees, then toppled over onto his side, curled up in a ball and gasping like a fish out of water. The gray-bearded man was still on his knees, holding his jaw and looking dazed. The third man had his hands up in surrender, backing toward the door. We're leaving, he said. We're leaving right now. Lily stood in the center of the store, barely breathing hard, her hands still up in a defensive position. Her glasses had somehow stayed on during the entire fight, and her hair was only slightly messed up. To anyone watching the security footage later, it would look like a trained fighter had systematically dismantled three much larger opponents without breaking a sweat. Good, Lily said calmly. Help your friends and get out of here. If I see any of you again, I'm calling the police immediately. The third man helped the gray-bearded one to his feet. Together, they managed to get Danny upright, though he was still having trouble walking straight. All three men looked completely shocked by what had just happened. This isn't over, Danny mumbled through his swollen jaw, but there was no conviction in his voice. He was hurt, humiliated, and clearly wanted nothing more than to get as far away from Lily as possible. Yes, it is, Lily replied. And if you're smart, you'll make sure it stays that way. The three men stumbled out of the gas station, helping each other walk to their motorcycles. Lily watched through the window as they struggled to get their bikes started. One of them was having trouble holding his handlebars steady, and another kept looking back at the station like he couldn't believe what had just happened. As the sound of their engines faded into the distance, Lily finally allowed herself to relax. She walked to the bathroom and looked at herself in the mirror. Her clothes were a little wrinkled, and there was a small bruise forming on her wrist where Danny had grabbed her, but otherwise she looked exactly the same as she had an hour ago. The quiet nursing student was back, but now she knew that when she needed to, she could become someone else entirely. Someone who didn't have to be afraid of anyone. Lily stood alone in the gas station, listening to the sound of motorcycle engines disappearing into the night. Her hands were still shaking slightly from the adrenaline, but she felt strangely calm. For the first time in 3 years, she had used her boxing skills for something other than competition or training. She had defended herself against real danger, and it felt different than anything she had experienced in the ring. The first thing she did was check the security cameras. The red recording lights were still blinking, which meant everything had been captured on video. She knew she would need that footage later. Then she walked around the store, making sure nothing was damaged during the fight. A few snack packages had fallen off the shelves, but otherwise everything looked normal. Her anatomy textbook was still open on the counter where she had left it. The chapter on muscle groups seemed almost funny now, considering she had just given those three men a very practical lesson in how muscles worked when properly trained. She closed the book and took a deep breath. The smart thing to do was call the police right now. Those men had threatened her, grabbed her, and one of them had even pulled a weapon. She had every right to defend herself, and the video would prove that she had only fought back after they attacked her first. But part of her hesitated. If she called the police, they would want to know how a 19-year-old college student had been able to defeat three grown men so easily. That would mean explaining about her boxing career, her championships, and the 8 years of training that her classmates and coworkers knew nothing about. Her two separate lives would collide completely, but as she thought about it more, Lily realized she didn't have a choice. Those men might go to another gas station and try the same thing with someone who couldn't defend themselves. They might hurt an innocent person who didn't have the skills to fight back. She couldn't let that happen just to protect her privacy. She picked up the phone and dialed 911. 20 minutes later, 2 police cars pulled into the gas station parking lot. The officers were surprised to find Lily calmly reading her textbook behind the counter, showing no signs of distress or injury beyond a small bruise on her wrist. "You're the one who called about an assault?" Officer Rodriguez asked. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes who reminded Lily of her grandfather. "Yes, sir. 3 men on motorcycles tried to rob the store and threatened me. When I refused to open the register, they became violent." The second officer, a younger woman named Officer Blake, looked around the store. "Are you injured? Do you need medical attention?" "No, I'm fine. But I think they might need medical attention." Both officers looked confused. "They need medical attention? What happened to them?" Lily explained the whole situation, starting with how the men had entered the store and demanded free gas, then escalated to threats and physical assault. When she got to the part about fighting back, both officers looked skeptical. "You're telling us that you, by yourself, fought off 3 adult men?" Officer Blake asked. "Yes, ma'am. I have some experience with self-defense." Officer Rodriguez was studying Lily more carefully now. "What kind of experience?" "I'm a boxer. I've been training for 8 years, and I'm a 3-time state champion in my weight class." The officers exchanged glances. "Can we see the security footage?" Officer Blake asked. Lily led them to the back office where the security monitors were located. She rewound the digital recording to the beginning of the incident and pressed play. For the next 10 minutes, the 3 of them watched in silence as the events unfolded on screen. The footage showed everything clearly. The men entering the store, surrounding Lily, grabbing her wrist, and threatening her. It showed Danny pulling out the wrench and raising it over his head. And it showed Lily's systematic, professional dismantling of all 3 attackers with textbook boxing technique. "Holy cow," Officer Blake whispered as they watched Lily knock Danny to the ground with a single punch. "She's the real deal." Officer Rodriguez was taking notes. "Have you ever seen these men before?" "No, sir." But one of them called the leader Danny, and they had Venom Riders on their jackets. Both officers knew that name. The Venom Riders had been causing problems up and down the highway for months. They had a pattern of intimidating employees at gas stations, truck stops, and diners, usually targeting young women working alone. Most victims were too scared to fight back or report the incidents. "We've been looking for these guys," Officer Rodriguez said. "They've hit at least 6 other businesses in the past 3 months. You're the first person who fought back." Within an hour, police had tracked down the Venom Riders at a hospital emergency room 2 towns over. Danny was being treated for broken ribs and a concussion. The gray-bearded man had a dislocated jaw that required surgery to repair properly. The third man was mostly uninjured but was staying with his friends. When the police arrested them, all 3 men immediately started complaining about being attacked by a crazy girl who came out of nowhere. They seemed genuinely shocked that anyone would believe their victims over them. The security footage told a different story. The video clearly showed the men as the aggressors and Lily as someone defending herself against multiple attackers, one of whom was armed. The district attorney later said it was one of the clearest cases of justified self-defense she had ever seen. News of the incident spread quickly through the local community. By the next morning, everyone at Valley Community College was talking about the quiet nursing student who had single-handedly defeated 3 motorcycle gang members. Social media posts about the gas station boxer started going viral, with many people sharing their own stories about being harassed or threatened by the Venom Riders. Lily's boxing coach, Miguel, saw the news on television and immediately drove to her apartment. He found her studying for her anatomy exam as if nothing had happened. "You should have called me," he said, giving her a hug. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Lily assured him. "I did exactly what you taught me. I tried to avoid the fight, but when they wouldn't let me, I defended myself." Miguel was proud but also concerned. "This is going to change things for you. People are going to know about your boxing now." He was right. Over the next few weeks, college scouts who had given up on recruiting Lily started calling again. Sports. Reporters wanted interviews. The boxing community, which had wondered why a promising young fighter had disappeared from competition, suddenly understood why she had been so secretive about her training, but the biggest change was in how people treated her. Her classmates, who had seen her as a shy bookworm, now looked at her with a mixture of respect and amazement. Her coworkers at the gas station treated her like a celebrity. Even her professors seemed impressed when they learned about her athletic achievements. Danny and his 2 companions were sentenced to 6 months in jail for assault, attempted robbery, and weapons charges. The judge noted that this was far from their first offense, and that their pattern of targeting young women was particularly disturbing. The Venom Riders Motorcycle Club disbanded 6 months later after several other members were arrested for similar crimes. Police investigations revealed they had been running the same intimidation scheme across 3 states, usually targeting isolated businesses where young women worked alone. 1 year later, Lily graduated from the nursing program with highest honors. She had decided to accept a scholarship to State University, where she would study pre-med while continuing to box for the university team. Her grandmother, whose health had improved with better medical care that Lily could now afford, was moving with her on her last day at the gas station. Lily's manager gave her a plaque that read Employee of the Year and Protector of the Community. She laughed and promised to keep in touch. Today, Dr. Lily works in an emergency room where she treats patients with the same calm competence she showed that night. She still boxes recreationally and teaches self-defense classes at a local community center. When people ask her about the gas station incident, she always gives the same advice: learn to defend yourself, but more importantly, learn when not to fight. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. But when someone won't let you walk away, be ready. The gas station installed a new security system and hired additional staff for overnight shifts. They never had another serious incident, though local rumors suggest that troublemakers tend to avoid the place where the boxing girl used to work. Danny never rode a motorcycle again. His friends say he gets nervous whenever he sees a small woman with glasses, especially if she's carrying textbooks.